Call to the bullpen. Assemble.
Excelsior!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the newest episode of Call to the Bullpen. We started with a little tribute to the now unfortunately late great Stan Lee. A few of us here at Call to the Bullpen are avid video gamers, and we also do enjoy the Marvel superhero movies and comics and those kind of things. And Stan Lee was a pioneer for the entertainment world, and unfortunately he has passed away as of November 12th, 2018. So our little tribute to him. Thank you for everything you've done over your career, and rest in paradise, if you will.
And if we can take, I guess, one fitting bookend to his career will be that Avengers Infinity War Part 2, the sequel, it's already finished filming, so that means I think we will get one final Stan Lee cameo, perhaps even in Captain Marvel too, if I'm not mistaken, because they had to have wrapped on that by now, right?
Yeah, I believe they have wrapped on that, and with CGI nowadays, I bet you they could just probably CGI his face.
Yeah.
Will there be a Stan Lee hologram?
It's possible.
Will him and Dio tour?
That I don't think is
It's going to be Stan Lee, Dio, and Tupac.
Yeah, that's
Jesus.
right. What a lineup. But,
Anyways, let's not get off topic.
Now I'm going to see ghosts.
Rest easy, Stan Lee. You really were great for the business and great for the entertainment industry, so we all appreciate you. But now we're going to get into our Week 10 review.
No, we're not.
Right. Well, why not?
So talk about baseball.
Oh, baseball first? Fine, okay.
Don't be so disappointed, Chase. Yes, we're going to talk a little bit of baseball today. There have been some headlines in the baseball world, a few contracts that have been declined, a few that have been signed, actually I think 2 on the Dodgers as of today, and also the NL Rookie of the Year awards were announced. First off, for the AL Rookie of the Year, you had Ohtani take the AL Rookie of the Year award, which was kind of a little bit of a surprise, and I don't want to say I'm biased because I'm a Yankee fan, but I don't think that he had the greatest year to take that away from Andujar. Jared, what do you think?
Well, I think for Yankee fans, it seemed like a 2-horse race between Andujar and Gleyber Torres. It's funny, Andujar kind of seized the lead as far as that went in the minds of a lot of New York fans in the latter half of the season, but Gleyber was just on fire with that midseason power stroke at one point. But with Ohtani, I guess at the end of the day, we really haven't seen a player come into this league really. It was kind of revolutionary for him to come in and continue on what he did in Japan, which is not only hit but pitch as well. And I think that he did get injured mid-season, which might have been some of the growing pains of making that adjustment to the major leagues. And I'm not sure how sustainable this multifaceted style of play is in such a long season in the majors in America. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to be both a pitcher and a DH throughout his career. I think eventually he might have to lean one way, and you saw he was only limited to about 10 pitching appearances this year, but nonetheless, it was really impressive to see him excel on both sides of the ball, even though he was hurt and missed a majority of the season. I'm not surprised that he won, because as much as I love Miguel Andujar, and as much as I can say he was the Yankees' most consistent hitter at the plate this season in terms of power and average and extra base hits, which came in bunches, his defense was kind of abysmal at times. So if there was anything that was going to sink him, it was going to be not only not terribly impressive defense, but also kind of below average, poor defense. He did commit a lot of errors out in the field. So again, that coupled with the fact that Ohtani was able to not only hit but pitch, which is something we've pretty much never seen anybody do.
Yeah, since Babe Ruth, at least. That's, I'll give that much to him. The fact that he was that diverse of a player to be able to do that is extremely impressive. I think with being hurt, and it's not like he did it all year long. He wasn't a 20-win pitcher and a 30 home run guy. Granted, that would be absolutely ridiculous, but the fact that he came off the mound for a decent amount of time,
missing a couple months too.
Missing a couple months, exactly. But the fact that he missed a couple months, I don't want to say it takes him out of contention. I don't know. I just don't think he had the numbers and the time frame and the just the skill to take that from Andahar. I mean, Andahar was a solid player all year long, and yeah, I mean, he had a couple defensive errors here and there, but I think his offense definitely showed, and when he stepped up when guys went down, big guys that went down in the lineup.
He was the one constant in that lineup.
He was the one constant in that lineup. You had Judge and Stanton, who were supposed to be the two guys in Sanchez, so we'll say the three guys, really to drive that team to a playoff and potentially a World Series, and Stanton had a lot of strikeouts, hit relatively decently. Judge went out for a couple months. We also had happened with Sanchez, went out for a couple months with injury, with
when he
laziness.
Did play, he was batting
9
under
yards.
200.
When he did play, he was hitting $189 all year or whatever it was. And Andahar, for a rookie and for a young kid like that to come out and hit 300, give or take in either direction, and really hold that team together when the big names went down. He was the guy that they could rely on all season long. So, I don't know, maybe that's more of a most valuable player candidate, but, clearly he didn't take it and Ohtani did. That's
actually kind of a good point, because it's what separates the Rookie of the Year from the MVP award, in the sense that with Rookie of the Year, you don't necessarily have to play for a contender, and I don't really think they look at value to the team's success as much as they do individual accomplishments when it comes to this award. That's why, when you look at Andujar's offensive numbers holding the Yankees together, it apparently in the minds of these voters didn't hold as much weight as Ohtani breaking ground as being pretty much the first player, like you said, since Babe Ruth to be the dual threat as far as pitching and hitting goes. So it's an interesting argument. And Gleyber Torres, when he was at his peak, he was just as good as a candidate for this award as anybody, but unfortunately he had the injury and then the slump after the injury, so Andujar kind of overtook him in the chase for that award on the Yankees side, but Ohtani takes it. And on the National League side, we had Ronald Acuna, who as we know, didn't play the full 162, but his offensive numbers, he was on a pace for what would have been a full season's pace of like 35, 40 dingers and 100 RBI. He was a big reason why the Braves were able to take that leap forward, and he overcame what ended up being a surprising field with Juan Soto on the Nationals, who came up midseason with some really, really impressive plate appearances, and then Walker Buehler, who emerged as kind of almost a second ace for the Dodgers, and we saw how important he was to that team in the playoffs. So a surprising field in the NL, but definitely a really bright future for Atlanta when you think about Acuna and Ozzie Albies, who I believe he wasn't in contention for this award because he played over 50 games last year, but he got
give or take. I think I agree with that.
He got off to a smoldering hot start this season, though. So with Atlanta, I mean, the future's so bright for them. They arrived about a year or two earlier than people thought.
Yeah, definitely, and congrats to the two guys that did win. Also, just a few more touching points in baseball, because I think it happened after our last episode. Joe Mauer announced his retirement. So unfortunately, a guy who's been around the league for a long time, a 6-time All-Star, if I believe a batting champion in 2008, give or take?
3 times, actually.
You're totally right. Wow.
06, 08, and 09. He won the AL MVP in 2009. That's the year Yankees last won the World Series.
Yeah.
Joe Mauer, to me, I mean, he was absolutely one of the best hitting catchers of his generation. Just, number one, the batting average was off the charts amazing. He was a really physically imposing presence, just a humongous guy. He's a guy who looked like, I was surprised that he didn't put up bigger power numbers throughout his career. I mean, he did have a couple of years where the power stroke came through and he would hit 30 dingers. I think that happened at least once. But he seemed like a guy who just looked like he had the ability to murder the ball. And, he looked like he had the, potential to maybe hit that really high home run threshold. But nonetheless, always hit for a very consistently high average. He was a really great defensive catcher and just a guy who struck fear in the heart of AL pitchers, and kind of an early retirement for him. Unfortunately, he didn't.
Well, I mean, he also got shipped over to first base, and the whole decline physically over the years. I mean, playing catcher is honestly one of the most gruesome positions on your body. I mean, it beats you up back there, diving in, staying crouched down for 3.5 hours straight, 162 days a year is not the easiest thing on the planet to do. I've caught a little bit over my short baseball career, and definitely not as long as him. So, it's impressive
and
to
on
say
a big
the
guy
least.
too, right? The damage
And a
does
big
to the
guy,
knees.
exactly. So, I mean, an impressive career, and, congrats to him.
Let me tell you, him and Justin Morneau, in the late 2000s, they made such a deadly combo at the top of that lineup. But that was when the Twins, the last era when they were like a really good team. It was because of those guys.
Yeah, and they had Jim Tomei for a little while, which, I mean, it definitely wasn't at the peak of his career.
It was a fun little cameo appearance for a guy who was one of the premier power hitters of his era.
Speaking of cameos, yes, definitely. Again, congrats to Joe Mauer. Great career. Congrats to you. Hopefully a Hall of Fame candidate. I don't see why not. Definitely one of the best catchers of all time. Just a few other quick notes. Justin Verlander and Kate Upton welcomed a baby daughter, so congrats to them. Pretty cool. Justin Verlander, the pitcher for the Houston Astros, if you guys don't know that, and his supermodel wife, Kate Upton.
And I'm happy to report that this news has no bearing on my relationship with Kate Upton. Very proud of you, honey. Keep doing your thing.
Wow. Anyways, other than that, I think that's all we got for baseball. The Cubs are also willing to trade Chris Bryant, I guess, so they're trying to open up some cap room with getting rid of him, and that's a big addition to anybody that can get him.
That's such a foolish move on their part.
Of course it is. But they need to open up the cap space, apparently. I mean, I think their payroll is, $220 million or something like that? Something ridiculous for a not awesome lineup. I mean, they're good, but there's
that's
no
what happens when you
guys.
waste a stupid amount of money on Jason Hayward.
That's fair.
To hit 8 home runs and
That's
bat
fair.
260.
Well, yeah. I mean,
he's a great defense.
He's played more games than Jacoby Ellsbury has.
Fair enough. Good point.
All right. Well, we're going to close baseball off there. Like we said last week, we're going to keep baseball going a little bit here and there when there's some more announcements that come out and, breaking news, especially with, the trades that are going to happen over the offseason and the managers' meetings or coaches' meetings, whatever the hell it's called down there. We'll touch base on those and, any big headlines that come out. Feel free to reach out to us on any signings or trade perspectives that you think are going to happen, or what your thoughts are on them, or who's going to go where. Let us know what you're thinking, and we'll give you a little shout on the show and let you know where we stand on those. So with that, we're going to move over to NFL Week 10 review. Chase is going to join us back because he doesn't like to talk baseball, so he walked away to watch this ridiculous football game that's happening right now.
Yeah. The Giants are playing the 49ers right now in the battle for first place in the draft, so it's pretty important
Saquon
stuff.
Barkley just left off a good run, and Odell Beckham himself said that he believes that the Giants have what it takes to win 8 games in a row and make the playoffs at 9-7. And I want to point this.
You know why? Do you know why?
Why?
Because there's only one team that can win out, and that's the Houston Texans, baby.
He's not wrong.
Actually, the Giants have already beaten the Houston Texans, so if the Texans can win out, then I don't see why
No, this isn't winning by association.
I would like to point this out, though. If the Giants have not had an 8-game winning streak since 1990. That is a period that includes 2 Super Bowl winning seasons in 2007 and 2011. So just to add some, I guess, extra OMG, this is impossible to Odell Beckham's prediction.
Ridiculous statement. It's not a prediction. It's a ridiculous statement.
I don't even know why we're still on it, because it's not happening.
Neither do I. But just at live recording time, there's 8 minutes left in the first. San Fran's up 3-0. All right, so moving on to Week 10. Jared, so far you're losing this week. Chase is in the lead at 9-4.
Okay, this was a funky week.
Chase is in the lead at 9-4. Jared's at 7-6, and I'm at 8-5, and that's pending tonight's game. So there's still a game to be included in the win-loss column. We're going to start off with the Steelers and the Panthers. We all have the Steelers in this one, and they did not disappoint.
Yeah, no, this was everything that we expected it to be. We knew that'd be tough for Carolina to go to Pittsburgh on the short week. We also know that Steelers play incredibly well at home. Big Ben, in particular, decides to be a superhero. Another Stanley homage there, so homage. And Big Ben didn't leave anything out there, we can say.
Well, I'm going to say I was a little surprised how this game turned out. Not because the Steelers' offense hasn't been really rounding into form over the last several weeks. They're absolutely in mid-season form right now. They're one of the hotter teams in the AFC. But defensively, this team has not really been that impressive this year, but they absolutely steamrolled the Panthers' offensive line in this game.
Yes, their pass rush looked immaculate.
Cam Newton had no time back there at all.
Absolutely, and if they could pair that up with a great offense like they have, this team could be dangerous.
They
in the
were
playoffs.
destroying the Panthers' secondary, just shredding them up and down the field. I mean, Ben was throwing at will. They were putting up points in bunches. They had, 35 by halftime?
It was an utter blowout with a lot of explosive plays, too.
Yeah, Juju got it started early.
Yeah, I think it might have been the first drive of the game.
Yeah, was that 75
yards
yarder like that? Yeah,
sitting on my fantasy bench.
Yeah, well, there you go. Did you lose again?
No, I'm beating Chase right now.
Yeah, it's not over yet, though.
It's Saquon right now.
It's Saquon versus Odell.
It's Saquon versus Odell, and I'm up by 10. So as long as Odell is not 10 points better than Saquon, I win.
Yep. So it could be close.
Interesting. Wow. Well, I won by, I think, 92 points or something like that. So I put up a 200 spot this week, boys. Anyways, so we all had the Steelers in that one. You know, like we said, they did not disappoint. The Steelers go to 6-2-1. Panthers to 6-3. And we all go to 1-0. Moving on to the Jaguars at the Colts. This one was interesting. I don't want to say surprising because Chase, me and you both had the Colts in this one. But the Jaguars are definitely on a decline here. What do you guys got on this one?
They looked much better with Leonard Fournette. You could tell right away. He got 2 touchdowns in this game. They need him in order to be a successful team on offense. And unfortunately for Jacksonville fans, I think it's a little bit too late here. They're going to fall behind in the division. Now they're in 3rd place. Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, they're in 4th place. So they're last in their division behind the Titans, the Colts, and, of course, the Houston Texans at top. Unfortunately, this is going to be it for this season for them. And hopefully they can retain some of the guys they have because they have a lot of talent for next year.
Yeah, and just touching on keeping some of the guys that they have, Jalen Ramsey actually tweeted today, you guys are going to miss me when I'm not here anymore. I believe it was I ain't tripping or something along those lines was the remaining tweet. So, you know, I don't know if there's some decline in the locker room also with how poorly this season went, with how much expectation there was coming out of the season. You know, do you expect a fire sale anytime soon? Do you think they're going to try their best to keep guys? Will guys just ask to leave?
It depends on how bad it gets. If they end up as a 7-9 team, I think that they'll keep guys. But if they end up just tanking and go to 3-13, they'll probably draft a quarterback with the first couple picks in the draft, and then I could see them trading away people for more picks like Jalen Ramsey.
They really have to retool this offense because they're just way too limited. It really seems like it's starting to feel more like they caught lightning in a bottle last season with what they got out of Blake Bortles. I'm not saying he was blow away amazing, but he played pretty much about as well as you could reasonably expect from him last year and had people thinking, he's not great, but maybe they can win with this guy. But they've been playing without Leonard Fournette most of the season. He does come back this week, and he found the end zone. Wasn't really averaging a ton of yards per carry, though, and they did try to pound the rock with him, but it only resulted in a little over 50 yards on 20 attempts. And
I'm pretty sure the Colts knew that's exactly what was going to happen, so they were stacking the box. So, I mean, I don't blame Leonard Fournette, and I'm sure you don't blame Leonard Fournette.
No, I don't blame him, but what I am going to say is that this defense to allow 29 points, because, by the way, they allowed all those points in the first half of this game. Both teams missed field goals, so a little bit of sloppiness there. And the Jaguars, they just dug too much of a hole for them to climb out of. They were down 29-13 on the road at one point in this game. And, with the way the Colts were able to weather the storm against Fournette, this defense has honestly played better than expected this year, and they're looking like, I don't think it's their year this year because I think there's just too much competition in their division alone, but maybe next year if they make the right offseason moves, this team could become a dark horse wildcard contender.
Absolutely. You got Andrew Luck. Anybody could be
I feel like we've
contestant.
We've said this on previous episodes.
Oh, that's because Andrew Luck's a good quarterback. It's amazing. This is why people spend all this money. They spend all these draft picks drafting
on a franchise quarterback.
Because it makes that much of a difference. And to go back on this game, Jacksonville actually did have a chance to at least try to score. And
they didn't get the game-winning drive late in the game.
Yeah, they ended up. Blake Bortles made a complete pass, and one of the wide receivers fumbled it. So. So they did have a chance late in this game to possibly turn around or help turn around the season. But like I said before, I think it's it for Jacksonville. I think Colts are not going to make the playoffs, but I think that they had a good season this year, and I think they could pretty much be proud of what they've done with little to nothing, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I don't think the Jaguars are going to get much farther this year. Maybe a couple more wins out of the season. Like you said, a 7-9.
Their playoff hopes are pretty much done at this point.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I don't know. I mean, I really like the Jaguars, and I really like their defense last year. I mean, Chase, you know how high I was on the Jaguars last year, especially playing Madden, using all their players on defense. They were a great defensive team, and I don't want to say they still are because obviously, they're not winning. But, they definitely have some good players. They have some good talent. And I don't want to see a fire sale out of that team. I don't want to see that defense split up, and
it's looking like it could. We could wind up talking about like the 2017 Jaguars as, hey, remember that one year that the Jaguars randomly were like amazing?
And they go back to their normal
exactly.
Exactly.
It turned up being that way. It's their like, offense is like a bottom 10 offense, no doubt about it.
Well, it was like calling the Seahawks the Legion of Boom and calling the Jaguars the Legion of Whom. Where did they go? So, unfortunately, they, kind of fell off the cliff here. Jaguars take an L in this one, go to 3-6. Jared,
oh, that's right! Interception! Giants, baby! Woo! We're winning out!
No, not to cut off Austin there, but the Giants did have a pretty big pick, and now they're set up in the red zone.
I bet they get a field goal.
Who was that? Was that Jenkins? Who was that?
Yeah, Jenkins tipped it up, and it looks like a linebacker or a lineman.
Lineman, 93.
Caught it.
I know who
off
you
the
are.
tip. Yeah, what's
Sure.
his name? Number 93.
Well, if they would zoom in on it.
Wow, real big Giants fan here, everybody. So anyway, we're going to move on to the next one. I had the Colts, Austin had the Colts, and Jared had the Jaguars.
Yep, so he takes an L.
So I am going to move on with the Cardinals at the Chiefs, and this is going to be a quick one. Chiefs win. Okay.
No, I did, baby.
What?
Again. The
What?
Chiefs won again. No, I mean, they didn't win as
Mahomes did not put up 300 yards.
No,
Correct.
well, they said this before the game
They didn't win as
started.
big as they expected. I think they kind of went into the game with this, all right, we're definitely going to win. Let's not go out there and kill ourselves. Which is not the greatest attitude to have, but unfortunately you're playing the Cardinals. So, it was definitely a game that they expected to win. They didn't win by as much as anybody really expected them to. I mean, they didn't cover their spread of, I think, 16.5, but they still won. So 9-1 Chiefs and a 2-7 Cardinals.
They had a nice 2-score lead at halftime. I mean, you're not going to destroy everybody in every game.
It's the Cardinals. Put up 60, damn it.
I think it was a case of, well, the Cardinals aren't the worst defensive team in the NFL.
Broncos put up 45 against them, so does that make the Broncos
short
better
week.
than the Chiefs now?
Well, naturally.
By Jared's logic.
So I think the Chiefs were looking ahead because they got a huge game against the Rams on Monday night this week. So you're getting kind of a baby opponent at home. And again, you're not going to put up 30 or 40 on everybody. So they kind of just took care of their business.
Yeah, and in all seriousness, let's thank the fantasy gods that David Johnson is back in our lives because he finally had 98 yards and 2 touchdowns.
A season too late, Chase.
Yeah.
For anyone that doesn't know, I picked David Johnson last year with the first pick in the draft. He blew his freaking elbow or wrist or knee out, whatever it was. And it wasn't a keep 'em league, pick 'em league, fantasy, whatever.
It was a redraft league.
Exactly. So I lost him. He sat on my injury reserve, and Leonard Fournette sucked. So we lost, I think, in the championship. They're somewhere close to that. Anyways.
And he's still salty about it, but yes.
Of course I am. That's why my league that I run,
Arizona's
3 players.
Arizona's offense is actually looking a lot better now that they fired their offensive coordinator, Mike McCoy, and things seem to be running smoother. They're not going to win against the Chiefs. It wasn't going to happen anyway.
Nice confidence booster for the Chiefs defense to get a couple interceptions.
Yeah, Arizona looks better. Chiefs look strong.
Yep, and we will talk about Arizona and their potential to win next week in our Thursday episode. So keep an eye out for that. That'll be available late Wednesday night into Thursday, and we'll talk about the Chiefs in the Cardinals' next game. So we're going to move on. Everybody had the Chiefs in that one. Obviously, we're going to move on to one that everybody actually lost.
Yeah, this one was weird.
Bills win Battle of the Backups. Say that 5 times fast.
Bills win Battle of the Backups.
Bills win Battle of the Backups. Bills win Battle of the Backups. Yeah, no, this was a weird game. It just ended up being the Bills' defense is really good, I guess.
Yeah, the Jets are just actually bad.
Yeah, but then
really bad.
Matt Barkley talked some trash on the post-game interview, saying, "Oh, I've been here the whole time" or something like that. No, you haven't, Matt.
No,
Barkley.
he hasn't.
Stop it.
He's been
fourth string water boy.
It was just weird, and I think that I would have picked the Jets, or I would have picked the home team in this matchup every time because it's battle of the backups. Like, what else can you really pick? Like, what else can you really pick between these two teams? They both have decent defenses. They got nothing going on offense. So, I mean, I'm not upset about my pick. I still think the Jets should have won this game. It was just
no doubt. I mean,
game.
the Jets are not a good team yet, but there's enough talent on this team to where this shouldn't be happening. You know, you shouldn't be losing 41-10 to the Bills
Correct.
at home,
yes.
Especially when they just signed Matt Barkley. They just put him out there this week. I mean, I know they're starting McCown, but you know something? Josh McCown has had enough success in this league to not get completely embarrassed at home by the freaking Buffalo Bills. I'm just saying, it shouldn't have been this bad is all I'm saying. You know, if this isn't a case of the Jets let one slip away, this is them getting absolutely humiliated at home by a team that has, I mean, to their credit, the Bills pulled off a couple surprising wins like this season, but that doesn't excuse this performance, and I think the entire Jets organization should be really ashamed of how the team played in this game.
I think they should be fired and stoned.
Todd Bowles.
They very well will be, probably. Both of those. Fired and stoned.
Fired and stoned.
But it'll happen
or like by flaming stones.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, Stone's on fire?
Stone's on fire.
I understand. I think it'll happen at the end of the season. They're probably going to rock with Todd Bowles. It's just like, what's the point of firing somebody in week 11? I think that they'll just wait and do the interview process and everything. So
yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see how legitimate this Darnold injury though is, because I think that the guy needed a mental break anyway. So I think benching him was the right move. Just give him a little break after throwing all the picks and whatnot.
Yeah, and all the Jets fans out there, don't hate Darnold for your season this year. Don't blame him. He's actually got a lot of promise from what we can see.
Not much of a supporting cast.
Not much of a supporting cast at all. So I don't think that Darnold is the problem. I think that he's actually the future for this franchise. Moving on, we all have the Jets there, and we all took an L. Next up, we got the Lions at the Bears, and boy, oh boy, the Bears look good.
Yeah, I mean, the final score doesn't really reflect how bad this game was. At one point, the Bears were up, what were they up, 26?
Yeah, they were up by 21 points.
26-7, I believe.
26-7.
At
I
half.
think it was 26-0 at one point, actually, and then the Lions got a touchdown before halftime.
Yes, I believe so.
And that came with a couple of missed extra points as well, and missed, actually, there were 2 missed field goals and 2 missed extra points in this game.
Are we going to talk about this right away?
The 4 dingers off the uprights?
They're all hitting off the upright.
Yeah, Cody Parkey had a bad day.
Or did he have a good day? He needs to go play the lottery. I'm sorry.
That was so accurate.
That's my point. I get that he missed 4 kicks, 2 extra points to do field goals, but the fact that he hit the uprights 4 times in this game, he needs to go buy a lottery ticket and play the number 4 somewhere, because, man, it was impressive, but it was impressively sad.
That was some spooky voodoo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Voodoo child.
Khalil Mack had
his
return to the field, and that went about as well as everybody expected it. He had a monster game as well.
Yes.
Matt Stafford really needs to have a nice sit-down conversation with his offensive line, because he's now been...
and be like, why do you hate me?
This guy has now been sacked 16 times in 2 games.
Yeah, that's bad.
Wow.
Yeah, 6 against the Bears and 10 against the Vikings.
Wow. Oh my God.
That's a crazy number.
That's a lot of ice baths.
And beer.
Yeah,
and
whiskey.
I remember those college days. Ice baths
after practice. He probably looks like a human pincushion
beer.
at this point. Can you imagine the bruises all over his body?
Yeah. Anyways, so the Bears take that one 34-22 over the Lions. They improve to a cool 6-3, and the Lions go down to the opposite of 3-6. Falcons at the Browns. Another upset game this week.
In hindsight, I'm not terribly surprised, because although the Falcons, they do have at their best a top 10 offense in the league, no doubt about it, but we know their defensive limitations this year. And Chase, what do you and I love to talk about? Those dome teams playing up north. It was a second straight road game for this team, and they just looked they looked frozen defensively. Baker Mayfield and Nick Chubb were just shredding them here.
Yep,
Absolutely.
and I'm upset that I lost this game in my pick and pool, but you know what I'm not upset about? Picking up Nick Chubb about 3 weeks ago, and Carlos Hyde was shipped on out, and Nick Chubb comes up with 176 yards on 20 rushes and a TD, baby. I mean, come on.
92 of it coming from one single rush, a 92-yard touchdown. That was incredible.
And Baker
I think he put up like 46 for me this week or something.
He made it easy for Baker. He only had to throw 20 passes, completed 17 of them.
Yeah, but he still threw for 3 TDs.
Yeah, for 3 TDs and
No, I'm saying
216.
that, he had a great day, but he didn't have to, overexert himself or anything like that.
Yeah, it was a full offense. You got something from the run game. You got something from the pass game. The defense played the Falcons very well, all things considered. The Falcons have a very high-powered offense, and they kept them in check.
To only hold them to 16, no doubt about it.
It was a whole completed game for the Browns, and everybody came to play. And this just shows that Hugh Jackson may have been the
problem.
The problem.
Well, I mean, and the coordination
Todd Haley.
also. I mean, with Todd Haley, I mean, if you look at Baker's numbers, what was it, in the last 2 games, he's got 5 touchdowns, some ridiculous amount of yards and like 1 interception. When obviously the rest of the season didn't go as well. I mean, he wasn't playing terribly, but in the last 2 games with not having Hugh Jackson or Haley there, he's played, I don't want to say lights out, but he's played absolutely 1,000 times better than he did in the first 9 games of the season or 8 games of the season. So
it was a big coming together moment for this team, for this group of players. It showed ownership that this is going to be their core. They have all the assets. And you know what? If the Steelers weren't so hot in this division, I would say that they had an outside chance to make the playoffs this year. I think they're too far behind based on how well the Steelers are playing, but they're looking like next year they can make some noise.
Yeah, I mean, and to just touch base on your point, I feel the exact same way that it shows by management that they're willing to stick behind the core that they have, and they're willing to trust Baker Mayfield and the guys that were brought in to really bring this team to what they are now. To have more faith in them than they do in a coach that's won 2 games in the last 35 or 33 that he's coached, however many games that he's been there for. So definitely an impressive move.
You think about what a productive last couple of drafts they've had at this point. I mean, getting Myles Garrett, Nick Chubb, Denzel Ward. I mean, this team's really building themselves up for a nice future.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And a big win for their chemistry, for their locker room morale, for their record, the whole 9 yards. I mean, it was definitely a big win against the Falcons. That there were definitely some upset picks coming from the Vegas rumblings, if you will. I definitely saw some upset picks and choices on the Browns in this one, but we all had the Falcons, so we're all going to take an L on that one. The Browns win 28-16. They improve to 3-6-1, and the Falcons go down to 4-5. Another big upset: Titans versus the Patriots. Patriots were in Tennessee and ended up losing 34-10.
It sounds like an upset. It certainly looks like an upset.
No, it was an upset.
No, it wasn't.
Smells like an upset.
No,
tastes like an upset.
This was undoubtedly an upset. Just because me and you knew it could happen doesn't mean that it's not an upset.
In hindsight, I keep kicking myself. I'm like, I should have seen this coming, because the Patriots, listen, they're 7-3. They did beat the Chiefs, but they have been
at home.
They've been a horrible road team this year.
Exactly.
All 3 of their losses, not only are all 3 of their losses on the road, but they have lost big on the road to
bad teams.
The Titans, the Jaguars, and the Detroit Lions. And what do 2 of those 3 teams have in common? Patriots outcasts who know this team inside and out. This just felt like a team that was bred for one reason and one reason only, and that was to beat the New England Patriots.
Is it possible that the formula to beat the Patriots
is to become the Patriots?
No, I think it's just that it's finally arrived, and not only Tom Coughlin knows it. I think that other people are starting to learn the formula.
Well, it's people from inside the organization.
Yes.
Look, the Titans are made up of Patriots castaways, from Vrabel to Dion Lewis. I mean,
Malcolm Butler.
Yeah, these guys. I mean, Dion was saying, like, I know this team. Like, they're soft. If you hit them hard, then you take the fight to them, they'll crumble.
And that's exactly what they did. They could not answer to the Tennessee Titans.
You just look at the Patriots play calling in the last 6 or 7 minutes of this game, where who who knows comebacks more than Tom Brady? Nobody. But they pretty much were just laying down with the play calling. They didn't even attempt anything in the last 7 minutes of this game.
Well, they didn't have Gronk, and like Julian Edelman got hurt, so I mean their weapons were gone. Let's not forget that.
True.
And Sony Michel is still coming off a knee injury, so
Well, Michel came back and he didn't really.
he was a non-factor.
didn't do
Yeah.
much.
So there's definitely some injuries that are gonna be a strong part of why they got blown out. But I mean, I think that this is it. Like this is it for the Patriots. They can't lose another one, or they're not getting home field advantage in the playoffs.
Oh no, they're already in a situation where they pretty much have to win out to make that happen. Austin, that's your cue.
That's the Chiefs' cue.
Yeah. No, they're not winning out. Does anybody listening know why they're not winning out?
Why?
Because there's only one team that's going to win out. Does anybody here know what that team is?
The Houston Texans?
Broncos.
Yeah, no, Chase, not the Broncos. I think I heard Jared say it. Jared, repeat yourself.
The Houston Texans.
Yep, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. The Houston Texans gonna win out. Hashtag gotta win out. Hashtag gonna win out. Hashtag.
Are the Houston Texans your AFC team?
I mean, I said it in our preview episode
No,
that
I mean,
they were
like,
gonna
are they
make the
like
Super Bowl.
like do you root for them? Like, you know, like my NFC team is the Packers, probably. Like, I always root for the Packers. Are the Texans your AFC team?
The Chiefs play in the AFC.
Packers? You just asked if the Packers from my AFC
No, I said
team.
the Packers are my NFC team because I'm a Broncos fan.
Let me see. If I had to choose without the option of sleeping on the couch, then yeah, I'd probably say it's the Texans. But if I don't say the Chiefs, I don't get to sleep in my bed. So,
Well, fortunately for you, your fiance is not home right now.
she does listen to this because, she likes to try to support us.
Let's put that to the test.
Oh,
I want
God.
You to say
All right,
that you're
all right,
a
here we
Texans
go.
Fan,
Here we
and-
go.
Wedding is on the line right now, folks.
Yeah, for those who don't know, I'm getting married in 3 weeks. So the fact that Chase is going to put that on the line on this freaking bet, this isn't a wheel of punishment. This is a wheel of, I don't even know what.
The ultimate punishment.
I was gonna say a real punishment.
The ultimate punishment. All right, yeah, fine. Sarah, if you're listening, the Texans are my AFC team.
Oh,
that hurt. That hurt.
Yikes.
That hurt.
Now we wait and see.
I just need to tell her not to listen to this episode.
Nope.
Sarah, whatever you do, our fate depends on it.
So we all had the Pats there, and
they won.
They lost.
They lost. So they did not win.
They did not win.
They
All right, Jared. Anyways, yeah, no, the Patriots lost 34-10 in that one. And with that, they moved to 7-3, which is still a very good record. And the Titans improved to 5-4. We're going to move on to the Saints and the Bengals, and I think this one went exactly how everyone thought it was going to go.
No, I take that back because the Saints were playing a road game up north, coming off the high of a humongous win. So yeah, the momentum was on their side, but I thought that they were due for a little bit of a come down. And no, they
did not come down.
They stayed high as a kite.
They
man.
obliterated them. I mean, I couldn't believe they were just destroying the Bengals in this game. These were
the Saints walked into the Cincinnati Zoo and absolutely murdered every large cat that was in that
They massacred
place.
them. How about
massacred them?
What happened at the end of the first half? The return on that punt to give them amazing field position right after they scored, and then give Drew Brees just enough time to give another exclamation mark touchdown before the half to put them up 35-7 at the end of 2.
Listen here. Saints are the best team in the NFL.
It's undoubted, unquestionably, undisputedly the truth at this point. I mean, after what they just did to Cincinnati, after beating the Rams, you look at what Drew Brees, Michael Thomas, and Alvin Kamara are doing. Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable.
And what's sad, which I don't think we talked about on the last episode, is I think it happened in between recording and in between this recording. If it didn't, I apologize. I'll reiterate myself. The Saints signed Dez Bryant to a 1-year, $1.7 million contract or something along those lines. And in one of his first practices, he blew out his Achilles tendon.
Tore his Achilles, yep.
So, unfortunately, Dez Bryant had a contract and lost it within a few days. Still made a couple bucks for really not doing much. And as of today, the Saints, I don't know if it's officially
Brandon
inked,
Marshall.
but yes, they signed veteran Brandon Marshall to replace Dez Bryant. So, I mean, it was a backup option to Dez Bryant because I think they both worked out within a few days of each other. And even though the Saints said they were very impressed with Brandon Marshall, they went with Dez Bryant anyways, who actually didn't play as recently as Brandon Marshall did. But, they're trying to add some wide receiver depth to their depth chart there. And what's unfortunate in that situation is Dez really had an opportunity to make a season out of this. And the fact that the Saints right now, like you said, Chase, are the best team in the NFL, if the fact that Dez would have had an opportunity to potentially win that Super Bowl, and now he unfortunately doesn't. The Saints also said that they'd be really willing to re-sign him once he's healthy and keep him on the team, which should be interesting to say the least. But it's kind of sad to see him go out and get hurt and not have that opportunity to play.
I don't think he gets re-signed. I think he's done.
Most likely.
He's 30 years old or close to it, and the body heals slower when you get to that age, unfortunately. Not that 30 is old, but it is for football. And I just don't see it. I think that he's probably done. It's unfortunate. He had a good career, but definitely not what he wanted to end on.
No, it was a spur-of-the-moment decision. The Saints are just trying to get a couple extra eyeballs away from Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara, but as you've seen this season, that hasn't been a problem. Even though this offense, for all intents and purposes, we've seen previous Saints offenses where Breeze really spreads the ball around, but this is pretty much, Ingram gets in some touches in there, so they have a little bit of a running back by committee situation, but for the most part, this offense is all about Kamara and Thomas, and it has been not only a winning formula, but a formula that's produced a ton of points this season. So if Brandon Marshall is even halfway somewhat okay, that's just going to inflate their totals even more so. But even if he's a non-factor, which I think he will be, they're not going to have any issues.
And as for the Bengals, they fall to 5-4, and unfortunately I heard news that AJ Green won't be returning until after December starts, so he's going to be out for more than a couple weeks. So, unfortunately, I don't think the Bengals have what it takes.
With that, the Bengals have clinched first, second, third, and fourth round playoff byes.
Because they didn't make it?
Correct.
I understand. Yeah, they're not going to make it, unfortunately. Jeez. The Steelers are going to take that division, and I think Bengals have to travel on the road to the Ravens next week, which is a very hard game to play without your number one wide receiver.
No doubt about that. And moving on, our next game of Week 10 was the Redskins at the Buccaneers. The Redskins won this game 16-3, even though the Buccaneers
I told you!
Hold on!
I told all of you! Oh, the Bucs are gonna win! What are you talking about? The Bucs suck! They suck!
No, you're not articulating why they suck, though. Here's why they suck. Because on paper, you would think, 16-3. Defensive, steamrolling, what a dominant effort. The Bucs put up 500 yards of offense in this game. They made five red zone trips and came away with 3 points, 2 missed field goals, and 2 turnovers. They should be ashamed of themselves. This was embarrassing.
Absolutely. But also, the Washington Redskins defense is pretty freaking good.
No, but they can let them keep driving down the field on them. It wasn't like they totally stomped them out.
But they're strong between the red zone. That's all you need.
But you had missed field goals. You had dropped touchdowns.
And you had picks by Josh Norman. You can't say it was all the Bucs being atrocious. It's because what we said, the Redskins defense.
No, they do have a good defense. But I'm just saying, they had themselves in position. And you can't keep making those mistakes over and over again.
Yeah, but the Bucs are just no good. It's not like they're not a good team.
This is the same team that put up 48 on the Saints in the Superdome.
Absolutely. Ryan Fitzpatrick had something going in the start of the season, and they thought, maybe we could get it back. And he's a gunslinger, so he's willing to throw into tight coverage. They got some weapons.
He put up 400 passing yards.
Yeah, because they had to just sling it.
No, well, like I said, they were coming down the field on him, and Adrian Pearson wasn't destroying it. Once again, listen, everybody, Alex Smith isn't the reason that the Redskins have been winning these games. But, at the end of the day, when on offense they're keeping control of the football, and their defense made the stops when they needed to, but really, it's hard not to look at this game and say the Bucs kind of embarrassed themselves, because when you're going to the red zone repeatedly on teams and not scoring, come on.
Yeah, sure, the Bucs stink, like I said. What else do you want from me? The Washington Redskins are the better team. They were the better team coming in.
The wheels are falling off.
And everybody freaked out because they lost 2 offensive linemen. But it doesn't matter when you play teams that are like the Bucs.
Well, true. It was nothing to beat them.
Fair enough. And with that one, the Redskins go to 6-3, which is very impressive for a Redskins team. And the Buccaneers drop to 3-6. Next game on the radar is Chargers at Raiders, and the Raiders suck again.
Suck so bad.
So these are back-to-back games now where the Raiders have not scored a touchdown. Just saying.
I don't really have much analysis on
here's
this.
my
other
analysis.
than the fact that the Raiders
They've
are
got
just
9 points in
not
2
good.
weeks.
Here's my analysis. They're going to cut Derek Carr, and the Denver Broncos are going to pick him up, and we're going to win a Super Bowl with
I
him.
thought Derek Carr was going to be a giant. I'll fight you for it.
Oh, yeah? Here's the thing. This right here. We know Derek Carr's a good quarterback. Like, he's proven it.
He is good.
It's not Derek Carr's fault.
It's not. And
he
he's
wants,
young.
He wants to be there, too. He even said, like, hey...
Jordy Nelson is contemplating retirement.
Oh, I think he's out before the next week starts.
Mark Davis is accepting responsibility for the Raiders' season. He says that everybody wants to blame Gruden, but Gruden actually wanted Khalil Mack, and it was my decision because we had to clear out the space and do this rebuild. But even if it wasn't Gruden's...
Boo, cocky.
Even if it wasn't Gruden's decision, which I have a...
You can't say that.
I had a hard... All right, I'm going to try to rescue this episode from the pits of the South Park creators' minds, but I have a hard time believing the Raiders owner, Mark Davis, on this, just because John Gruden said before the season, Khalil didn't want to be here, so making a statement like that, I mean, I have a hard time believing it wasn't his decision, in part, at least, to get rid of a player like that, but... This season's just completely gone off the rails for Oakland. They are unquestionably the worst team in the NFL at this point. I know we're going back and forth on whether it's them or the Giants, but the Raiders seem really, really dysfunctional right now, and they are kind of lined up well as far as the forthcoming draft, but right now this is a very tough season to swallow for their fans. And as for this game, it took the Chargers a little bit longer to get going on offense than maybe people think they should have. But at the end of the day, their defense held strong against a limited Raiders team, and Melvin Gordon and Keenan Allen once again coming through for the Chargers.
Yep, definitely on that one. Raiders lose again. Raiders go to freaking 1-8? Yeah,
1-8.
1-8.
Chargers are quietly 7-2. They've been beating up on the bad teams, but at the end of the day, they're winning games.
Exactly. They're winning games. They pick up a free win from the Raiders. I mean, the Chargers couldn't... The entire team could have just stayed on the bus and still taken a W from the Raiders. The Raiders would have somehow intercepted themselves and ran into their own end zone with how bad that they're playing football. So
I wouldn't dispute that.
There you go. Chargers go to 7-2, pick up another W. We all pick up a W on that one. Dolphins at Packers. Packers win this one by a slim margin of 31-12.
Well, this game was competitive for a while. The Dolphins hung in there as best they could.
Until Aaron Jones decided to just put the team on his back.
Yep.
150 yards.
45.
45 yards and 2 tutties. You're telling me Aaron Rodgers has a run game? Watch out. Watch out.
Yeah, and the Dolphins are just looking so ugly at this point. I mean, with their...
Wait, you're telling me Brock Osweiler lost another football game?
Oh, yeah, he was horrible.
He's actually won 2, so he's already done more than I expected.
He was over...
That's fair.
Well, yeah, one of them was against the Jets.
I just like making fun of him. Just like Joe Flacco.
Alrighty, well... Yeah, on that note, I mean, it's tough for Miami because they got off to a 3-0 start, but man, this team is so... It kind of stinks for Adam Gase because he takes a lot of flack for this team's failures, but he hasn't
had a quarterback.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He hasn't had the benefit of a fully healthy Ryan Tannehill throughout his tenure as a head coach. And if Tannehill was, the quarterback all season long for this team, I would say that they would have a pretty, they'd be comfortably in control of their wild card destiny, but now they're falling behind in the race at this point, and you look at their second half schedule, and it just doesn't bode well for them whatsoever. With Osweiler at quarterback, they can't beat a team other than a really low-level offense such as the Jets. They're not going to be able to beat a team like Green Bay, especially in Lambeau Field.
No, they're not going to. I mean, it's getting to that point where we are figuring out who is in the hunt and who is not, and the Dolphins are not in the hunt. Unfortunately,
the contenders and the pretenders.
Exactly.
Separating the men from the boys.
And it's just unfortunate. My uncle's a Dolphins fan,
my dad's a Dolphins fan.
I feel for him. He's been going through some tough times, but
I don't feel bad for Mark at all, Jared.
We're gonna have the Dolphins episode.
Oh, we are. We're gonna have a bonus episode before the end of the season. 2 diehard Dolphins fans are gonna battle it out for why the Dolphins are terrible, because one actually believes that the Dolphins are good, and one actually is understanding that they're not.
That the Dolphins are good?
My dad believes before every season that the Dolphins are good.
That's
and if
fair.
you talk to
That's
him,
called hope.
well,
That's
actually,
different.
if you talk to him now, he might still argue to me why they're going to win out, but we'll have to wait and see.
Kind of like how you just argued to me how the Giants are going to win
I didn't
out.
argue. I said that Odell said so, and
That's
I pointed
fair.
out that the Giants have not done this in 30
Okay,
years.
so you're telling me right now the Giants are not going to win out?
No, of course not.
All right, that's all right.
Of course not.
I just
If they win six games, I'd be
it from the
shocked.
Goose.
Well,
Needed to hear from the Goose.
At the time of this, from the Goose.
Come on.
Jared will forever now known be as the Goose.
The Goose man.
So as of time of recording and argument, the Giants are losing 10-7 with
But what's happening here? They just got a
6
first
minutes
down.
and 25 seconds left.
Shocking right there.
Yeah, shocking. But anyway, so yeah, we're going to have a bonus episode in a couple weeks of just two Dolphins fans yelling and screaming at each other, and it's going to be a really good time.
Yeah, I can't wait to put it together.
Exactly. So the Dolphins go to 5-5, Packers 4-4-1. We all pick up a W on that one. Another game that was actually a little closer than I think some people expected. The 4-5 Seahawks almost beat the Rams. They lost 36-31.
This game tells me something very interesting.
What's that?
Very interesting.
The Rams' defense is trash.
No, it's not.
Yes,
it is not trash.
It's
Let
horrible.
me listen. Listen.
Do we
I know
want to
that
pull up the game log right now?
this is going to be hard to argue because their run defense got gashed in this game.
Yes.
However,
Okay.
their defensive front
Russell Wilson still threw for 3 touchdowns.
Well, yeah, a lot of half those yards were accumulated late in the fourth quarter. Up until that
I
point,
didn't talk about yards. I talked about touchdowns.
up until that point, the reason that the Rams went up by two scores.
So you're saying their rush defense and their pass defense got trashed?
Do I get to talk? Okay, before the end of this game, when the Rams had to hold off a furious rally, Russell Wilson was held to under 100 yards passing. He was only able to throw the ball 13 times before halfway through the fourth quarter, and that's because their pass rush got to him so
Negative.
fast.
Wrong.
Aaron Donald.
You're wrong.
Aaron Donald looked like a monster once again.
You're wrong. Did you watch this game?
I did watch this game.
Okay, well then you will know that it's not because of the pass rush, it's because they run the ball 40 times during the game.
But whenever they did drop back to pass, their pass rush got after them. They did. Listen, the running game was absolutely unstoppable here. Once again, the Seahawks multi-headed running game. They ran all over them, and the Rams couldn't stop a nosebleed as far as that goes.
Right.
But whenever they did drop back to pass, they weren't able to get anything going up until late in this game, and that's why the Rams were able to put up a 2-score lead. And at the end of the day, the Seahawks came really, really close, but it was too much of a hole to come back from.
I'm sorry, but playing good for the first and second and third quarter isn't being a good defense. That's not a good defense.
They still
Letting up 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter to Russell Wilson is not a good defense.
Yeah, it was a team playing for their lives. They played like their season
This
was
isn't
on
the first time. They let up 30 points to a lot of teams. They let up 30 points to them last time they played them. They let up 30 points to a bunch of crappy
that
teams
was in
they
their
shouldn't
house.
be.
Listen, this is a rivalry.
I'm saying that it's not just the Seahawks they do it to.
These are their biggest rivals.
I'm gonna pull it up right now.
And the Seahawks knew that their season was at stake. So yeah, they played as desperately as they possibly could in the last few minutes of this game. But before that point, Russell Wilson didn't make enough plays in throwing the ball because the Rams wouldn't let him.
I'm going to pull up the scores right now. Ready? So, obviously, they let up 45 to the Saints.
The point totals, yeah, because their secondary has gotten
27
gashed.
to the Packers.
You're not wrong.
20 to the Broncos. 31 to the Vikings. 31 to the Seahawks. 23 to the Chargers. And 13 to the Raiders. So, I'm sorry, but their defense is just not up to what they have spent the money on, and it's not good.
Well, I'll tell you, there's one guy who's been up to the money that they've spent on, and that's Aaron Donald.
Yes,
Dude
Aaron
already
Donald's
has
a
12
beast.
and a half sacks this year.
Unfortunately, the Broncos can tell you that one player on defense does not make a team.
It's more than just him. They just added Fowler. They still have Sue, Brockers. This is a pass rush nobody wants to face. Listen,
I'm pretty sure everybody has been. I mean, yeah, they're tough. They got
They
names,
are tough.
but they're not great.
Is there anybody on the Saints, though, defensively, that strikes fear in your heart? Like, the Rams have players like that you don't want to deal with.
How much better are they playing as a unit? So much better on defense. They're playing so much better as a unit. You just saw it. They went to the Bengals' house and only let up 10 points.
AJ Green didn't play.
Yes, that's true. The Saints' defenses looked way better.
Yeah, no, Chase, I don't disagree. I mean, I still believe fully in the Rams. I mean, they're still finding ways to win regardless. They're 9-1. It's not like they lost this game by 30 points.
They've scored 30 points or more in 7 of 9 games.
My point
that's
is,
not Chase's point, though. I understand
true.
Chase is saying that their defense is still not up to what they expected to be. I mean, this was a defense that brought on a lot of big names, paid a lot of big guys, and really had a lot higher expectations than what they're putting out. I mean, you know, they just have such a dominant defense on paper, and it's not like they're playing terribly. They're just not playing up to what they are. And just another note on the Rams, on the offensive side, Cooper Kupp suffered, I believe it was an ACL tear in this game, so he will miss the rest of the season. So that's a big blow on the offense. You know, I mean, thankfully Brandon Cooks has been stepping up as a weapon on that offense, and I'm very glad that I drafted him in our fantasy league. But the fact that he's stepping up, I think he had 100 yards in this game too. They still have the offense, obviously, to put numbers up. Todd Gurley's still the best running back in the NFL.
And Robert Woods as well. Woods and Brandon Cooks have been top 10 in yardage throughout most of the season as far as receivers go in the league, and Kupp has been kind of just gravy for Jared Goff and the Rams offense as far as producing in that third wide receiver spot. So what you're going to see now, I think, is tight end Tyler Higbee getting a little bit more involved here. But again, when you have two really good wide receivers and arguably one of, if not the best all-purpose player in the league in Todd Gurley, you know, they've got nothing to worry about on offense. Although Kupp added, like we said, that extra dimension and another wide receiver to divert attention away from the big weapons.
And with our Sunday night game, we had the Cowgirls at the Eagles.
Read it on paper, Chase.
And I said the Eagles were going to blow them out, and boy, was I wrong.
Yeah, I mean, this is a game where pretty much the opposite of what everybody expected to happened as far as the Cowboys not getting overwhelmed by the fact that they had to go on the road on a short week with their backs against the wall, with their season on the line, because not only taking another loss, but taking a divisional loss and falling to 3-6, 3 games behind the Redskins, I think there would have been no coming back from that. And now they got a pulse. They're still alive because of this win, because of Ezekiel Elliott coming to play and absolutely gashing the Eagles' run defense. I mean, everyone was talking going into this game like, oh, this is such a bad matchup. Philly has the tools to shut down Zeke, and the complete polar opposite of that happened, and it was the Eagles' offense that really struggled to put up points. They were pretty much shut down the majority of the first half. Wentz got intercepted, and they were, you know, I mean, they came back for a little bit in the third quarter, tying it up, but then Cowboys pulled away in the fourth, and the Eagles just ran out of time.
I think Jerry Jones said to Jason Garrett, if you don't give Ezekiel Elliott this ball 25 times, then you're fired. And guess what? When you give Ezekiel Elliott the ball 25 times...
19.
Well, I'm counting his catches.
I know, I'm joking.
That is true. Yep, 6 catches.
When you give the ball to him 25 times, and he gets 150 yards and 2 touchdowns...
One touchdown.
He didn't have a receiving touchdown?
He got a receiving touchdown, too,
Did
yeah.
he? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought he only had a rush.
Look at me, I'm 25. It's 19. If you give the ball to Ezekiel Elliott, he's going to win you the game.
Nazi.
And Amari Cooper hasn't lit the world on fire as a Cowboy.
But he's been a great number one for them.
He's been a good addition.
Yeah, he's been a good addition.
I believe both now back-to-back weeks he's led the team in receiving yards. So not putting up astronomical numbers, but this is a team that desperately needed something for Dak Prescott to throw to besides Cole Beasley.
And the sideline.
Yeah, fair enough. So
I hate to say this. I honestly could see if the Cowboys get hot. I could see them winning this division too. I think it's between 3 teams now.
Listen, no matter who wins this division, I think 9 wins is enough.
Yeah.
No matter who wins.
And I think the Redskins are going to fall.
And right now, the Cowboys have 4 of those 9 wins that you think is enough. They go to 4-5. The Eagles drop to 4-5. With that is our last game of Week 10, other than the, as of recording,
tied
10-10.
Do you want to change your pick to the tie?
Game. No, I don't want to change my pick to the tie because the Giants are going to lose because Eli Manning's going to throw an interception at some point.
Not if he doesn't throw the ball.
Not if he doesn't throw the ball
4 times at the goal line.
That's fair, and somehow they got in on 4th and goal.
They didn't get in because they kicked the field goal. I'm Austin. I'm so smart.
That's fair. Anyways, so with that, Jared is still losing 7-6 this week.
I can't win this week.
Exactly. I'm Jared. I'm so smart.
I can win.
Chase is in the lead at 9-4, and I am in the middle at 8-5.
And that's going to do it for Week 10. But before we go, I think it's time.
Is it time?
I think it's time.
Chase, what time is it?
for the
Moment of the week.
That's right. And I'm going to start us off first, and we're going to go straight to Tennessee, where my boy Tom Brady thinks that he's a wide receiver. Or maybe it's Bill Belichick or Josh McDaniels. Whoever thinks that wide receivers are guys like Tom Brady needs to figure it out, because Tom, he does his little trick, reverse, goes out in the flat, has 6 yards. He catches the ball this time, doesn't drop it, so we got the first part right. And then he takes one move, looks at the defender, and just the turf monster gets him, and he starts slowly tumbling to the ground. Oh, man, I don't know what's up with all these quarterbacks playing wide receiver, but clearly if you could do it, you would be a wide receiver and not a quarterback.
Fair enough. My old moment, this is actually not an instance of me slamming someone or condemning someone. This is just something that I found humorous and kind of I guess somewhat of a positive light. Sean Payton of the Saints smashed a fire alarm at the Bengals stadium just before the game started, because the fire alarm was apparently going off for 10 minutes straight before the game, and he was just getting sick of the noise. He said, I just needed the noise to stop. So if you want to go to ESPN.com, you can see pictures of this destroyed, mangled fire alarm. He said that he's totally willing to pay the damage costs, and that doesn't matter to him as long as he got some peace and quiet before his team completely steamrolled the hometown Bengals, putting up 51. The alarm went off all right, and maybe that was the siren that woke up the beast that is the Saints offense.
Yeah, and for my old moment of the week, it's actually going to go more towards the video game side of the football world. Yeah, Chase, I'm going to need you for this one, because this has to do with Madden. In the Redskins Buccaneers game, there was a gentleman standing on the sidelines before the game wearing a shirt that says EA Sports Madden NFL Ratings Performance Adjuster.
What?
How much do you think somebody gets to stand on the sideline of football games to adjust the ratings of Madden players?
Oh my god.
I mean,
I want that job.
Who doesn't want that job?
I want that job.
Come on!
He just sits there, it's like, oh yeah.
88.
yeah,
91.
86
you know what?
tackling.
You know what? Let me drop that guy's agility by 1.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, dude. This goes out to EA Sports, which, by the way, I bought your game and sold it 3 weeks later because it sucked. So if you're listening, your game sucks.
I talked you
your
into
servers
that one.
suck. Chase, you suck for telling me to get it. Stop paying people to be ratings performance adjusters. There are a lot better things you could be doing with your money, like fixing your freaking video games, or should I say everybody else's money.
Get Red Dead Redemption 2 instead. You can kill the KKK, and you can feed people to alligators.
It's true.
There's a plug for you, Rockstar. But yeah, no, EA Sports, stop taking people's money in your Ultimate Team. If people are still playing Ultimate Team, stop spending your money, because you want to know where your money's going? To ratings performance adjusters. Gah!
That's a good one.
That's great and pretty unexpected, too.
All right.
I'm glad you pulled that one out.
That was good.
Pulled that one out. See what I did there?
Thank you for joining us
everybody.
with our week 10 recap. This has been Call to the Bullpen, and we are.
We can't hang up yet because you have to check us out on Facebook.
Oh, that's right.
Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. If you're listening to us on Libsyn, Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, it's uploaded to YouTube too. And Austin, you need to fill in because I'm not going to.
I think you hit everything.
All right,
oh, wait. Hold on. There's one more thing.
There's one more thing?
That's right. Our giveaway.
Oh, yes. So, keep updated to our Facebook, our Instagram, and our Twitter. Mainly Facebook and Instagram, because those I actually get messages on. In the next couple weeks, we're going to be doing a giveaway for everybody that likes the Facebook and Instagram page. Preferably, I believe it's just going to be share the Facebook page, because I don't think you could share an Instagram page. But also subscribes to us on reviews us on iTunes, because you can't subscribe. I'm sorry, there's so many websites that we're on, it's hard to remember which ones actually do what. But review us on iTunes, subscribe on Spotify, and or subscribe on YouTube, you'll be entered to win the jersey or football jersey of your choice, or baseball, I guess, if you're listening to this for the baseball side of things. We're going to be entering you in a contest to win the football or baseball jersey of your choice. So keep an eye out for that. We're going to be posting that in the next few weeks. And good luck to every entrant. And when that comes around, let your friends know so they can share. Anybody that wants a free jersey or football or baseball jersey.
I'll sign it for you guys if you want.
Yeah, there you go. You know what? We'll all sign it if you want it.
I'll throw in a free pair of socks.
There you go, Jared.
That's a collectible.
Yeah, and they smell really bad because he took his shoes off about 5 minutes ago. I
did not.
From all your gentlemen at Call to the Bullpen, we are
hanging up.